Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this August 22nd version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we are on the EOA network. And here in just a bit, we're going to have City Manager, LeGrand City Manager Robert Strope is going to be with us here to talk about a proposed LeGrand City Charter amendment. So, yeah.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
First Friday.
Yeah.
We made it through the week. Early. Well, not yet, but almost.
Yeah.
Almost. We're close.
I'm liking the weather.
It's cooled off a little bit, but
Yeah.
isn't it going to get hot like Saturday or Sunday again?
I don't know.
We'll find out when
Yeah.
we do the weather. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. It's good. Like, as long as it's not snowing, I'm happy. Or raining.
Winter is coming though. Yeah.
Yeah, we can pause that.
Yeah.
We still got a good month of good weather football before winter gets here.
Yep.
Or a month or two, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The best part of fall is the first part of fall.
Yeah. And our first, we're doing, as I've mentioned before, the LeGrand, Baker City, and Pendleton home games, and two of those games are on the 30th. I don't know. Was it Baker and LeGrand? Anyhow. So yeah.
Nice.
But yeah.
Exciting.
Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand. That's the Celebrate Minecraft Creativity Legos. It's a building set for adults designed for the 15th anniversary of Minecraft, which that's crazy. 15 years Minecraft has been out. It's a popular video game, and I mean, adults, kids, there's still millions of people that play this video game online. Hobby Habit has the Legos, just for the fun of it. It's kind of a slow week for sports as we really swing into fall. Number 3 EOU volleyball's on the road. They play tomorrow and Saturday in San Antonio, Texas. Tomorrow they take on Oklahoma City University at 12 p.m. Central Time, and then they play Cumberland at 5. And then Friday they take on Nelson University at 10 Central and Our Lady of the Lakes University at 2:30. The LeGrand wrestling team, the girls, they got their rings. It was their first state championship this last year, and they were presented with their championship rings this last week, which is pretty cool. The pictures are courtesy of Dory Armstrong. Thank you, Dory. And it's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I was there. I got to see our first female state champion in Lindy Isaacson, and then the girls got their rings. It was really cool. It was very exciting. Anytime you're like part of something that's a first, it's exciting. EOU men's soccer is at Columbia Basin College in Pasco for a 5 p.m. game start on Saturday. And that's really it for sports this week at EOU. Still working on getting the EOU women's soccer preview out. I have Megan Gustafson, Brooke Snyder, and EOU head women's coach Josh Goodman. Interviews with them will be coming out sometime this week. Yesterday, my longtime friend and very successful women's college basketball coach Tim Hayes dropped by the studio. He's been the head coach at Colorado Christian, where he led them to their first national championship. He was the head coach at SEU in Florida, where he never lost a conference game in 6 years. And then now he is the head coach at LSU Shreveport. And this is a team that won 30 games last year, and they just brought in one of the most sought-after coaches in the nation, especially at the NAIA level, in a hunt for a national title. And they're going to be right there in the mix. He has a really good shot to win a national title this year, and that's one of the things that he talks about right here in this little clip. His dad, before his dad passed away, he told his dad he was going to win a national title, and COVID kind of got in the way. So take a look at this.
My dad, the last game he saw before he passed away was a buzzer beater loss in the national championship. And he was absolutely heartbroken because, as you know, he coached.
Your team. That was your SEU team.
SEU team, yep.
Yeah, I remember that very clearly as well.
He was there. He was broken because we had that thing, and he had, I mean, literally from the time we were little, worked a morning shift at the post office. Never took a promotion because he didn't want to be a postmaster. because it would have affected the time he got to spend with us, developing us as athletes and as people, and that's what he knew, and so he was in it. Okay, so that's the last game he sees. He passes away that next fall. My team knew that, right? They knew the whole deal, and they said, we're going to go win one for you. Well, we have the best team by far, I think, in the country. So we have a rematch right before Christmas with Concordia, who had won the national championship that we had lost to. They had 7 returning starters, stacked roster. We beat them by 30. So with everybody returning. So number 1, we were number 2 in the country at the time, beat number 1 by 30. It was no holds bar. Like we're about to obliterate everyone. The team had the right motivation. We get to the Sweet 16 at Sioux City. We beat that team, and it was the number 1 scoring team in the country. We had a weird draw. We got the number 1 scoring team. So it was one of those anomaly teams that could just shoot from anywhere. I was like, well, this is kind of one of those trap games in the national tournament. They can shoot it, score with us. And we beat them by 65 with the brakes on. And no joke, my point guard comes up after that. And she's like, I told you. Like, we're going to win this thing, and we're going to nail it down. And I was like, zero doubt in my mind. They knew what it took. The only team still left ahead of us was going to be that Concordia team, which we already knew the formula. The coach he was scrambling to change the system, and we knew where we were going. And so as we're walking off the floor, the PA comes on and says, the tournament's been canceled due to COVID.
Yeah, I remember that.
7 seniors, elite squad. So that's kind of what happened. Those players never got another shot at it. We lost our opportunity to win that one. Took us 2 more years to get back there again. So lost in the Final Four our last year at Southeastern, and then ultimately I took that job at Colorado.
That right there is a crazy story, man. His team lost in the national championship, SEU, to Concordia. Come back the next season, beat Concordia, who was ranked number 1 in the country by 30, make the NAIA tournament, and then in the Sweet 16 game, beat the number 1 scoring team in the country by 65. And as they're walking off the court, the announcer says the tournament has been canceled due to COVID. That's wild. And so he's never got a national championship, and that's his goal this year. Cade's Courage, QR code right there on the screen. If you want, you can scan it. It'll take you to their GoFundMe for the McKinley family. Cade is a 3-sport athlete at LeGrand High School. He was recently diagnosed with a form of Ewing sarcoma cancer. The family could use some help. It was awesome yesterday when Tim was here in studio. Gabe, go ahead and go to that next picture. There you go. I said, hey, take one of these bracelets. And before I even got it explained to him, he already had it on and was wearing it. So it was cool. Just a good dude, and I wish him the best. And if you can help support the McKinley family, you don't have to do it through GoFundMe. You can go to US Bank right here in town and make a donation. It's under Cade's Courage or the McKinley family. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit right here in LeGrand, just for the fun of it.
All right. Let's look at the weather graphic. And so 88 today, 50 tonight. And it looks like 71, 68, 73, 84.
I guess it's not going to get too hot this weekend.
So it looks like actually a kind of a pleasant weekend. So cooler evenings, I like that. So
yeah, you can open up the house at night and let all the cool air in.
Yeah, yep. It's got that fall feeling in the air with the hot days. So, all right. Well, we will be right back here in just a minute with LeGrand City Manager Robert Strope talking to us about a city charter amendment. All right, we are back with LeGrand City Manager Robert Strope. Glad you're here with us today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brent. Thanks
Good.
for having me.
The plan was for you to have one of the city council members with you
That was the plan.
this morning, and just via communication issues that didn't happen. But thank you for being here, though.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, we'll talk about specific. I mean, since we've got a little bit more time, we just felt. So, why do cities have a charter? I guess let's start a little broader. What's the city charter for?
Yeah, so the city charter is designed to essentially set out the rules that the city operates under. It provides the authorities, it defines how elections will be run, it delineates the city manager's authority, it establishes the form of government. We operate under the council manager form of government, and it talks to how ordinances are adopted and the roles of the city council. It talks about how vacancies are filled and provides some general authorities. So,
Okay, and then for the city to change a charter, what's the procedure for that?
yeah, the charter is enacted by a vote of the citizens of LeGrand, and so when there's a request for an amendment, that has to be put on the ballot, and it'll be on the general election this November to request some modifications.
And so then, and you and I have connected over the years because I'm responsible for getting the city council meetings out to the public, and so and I was there. So the proposed amendments come from the city council first, correct? Or at least they did in this particular case?
In this particular case, they did. You can have a situation where a member of the community could come to the city council meeting and say, hey, we feel that this should be changed. In this particular case, the city council, following the last election, asked to take a look at the charter and the process that it could be amended specifically to eliminate the position numbers, because currently we have a mayor that's position 1, which is a 2-year term, and then the other councilors are filling position numbers 2 through 7. The position number has no correlation to geography, representation. It's a nonpartisan election, and it can be a little bit confusing, and people will come in and say, well, I would like to run for city council. And so it's okay, well, which position do you want to run for? And it's like, well, what's the difference?
Right, yeah.
And so that's a little bit confusing. And we've had a couple of situations where let's say you and I are running for city council, you're running for position 4, I'm running for position 5. And it's possible that I could lose my election to my opponent, but I got more votes than you did. Mm-hmm. And so you have someone who actually received more votes but didn't get elected,
right,
because they happen to be running for position 4 versus position 5 or position 7.
Okay.
We've come really close to that. We haven't had that since I've been here. But the council felt that by going with the top 3 vote getters for those 3 council positions that are open every 2 years for a 4-year term, there was likelihood of getting more people interested in running, and the hope is that there'll be more interest. And also, I think there's some concern about the level of civility with the adversarial nature of I'm running against Brent for this position, and rather than here's why I should be on the council because of what I bring to the table, sometimes you'll have don't vote for Brent because Brent's not good,
right,
as opposed to vote for me because I'm going to do a great job.
right.
And so I think that was part of the conversation as well. The council also talked about ranked choice voting. We actually had a group from EOU come and do a presentation to the council, and the council did not feel that this was the time to pursue that, but did want to look at eliminating those positions. They wanted to retain the mayor as a 2-year standalone. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Well, let me run us through a little PowerPoint show, and so that kind of describes that will help people give a visual understanding. So then right now there's a mayor, which is a 2-year term. Is that working, Gabe? Okay. All right. Let's go back. So, all right. So okay. So we have the mayor is a 2-year term, and then each of the councilor positions are 4-year terms, and so then in this current year, for instance, and I'm not sure these are the exact positions that are open, but the mayor and 3 councilor positions are open, and so then in our current process, if we had in the primary, if we had 3 people that were running for a seat, then those 3 would be running against each other in the primary. The top 2 vote getters then would go on to run in the general. And so then, let's say, and that's not changing, is it?
We're eliminating the primary as part of this proposed amendment.
Right, and we'll get to that here.
Okay.
So this is our current.
Right.
It's just lagging behind.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So then in our current situation, then we have if there are 2 people that are running against each position, then those top vote getters then go on to win. Is it changing? Our technical difficulties. Yeah. That's irritating. Okay. So, all right. So we'll go on. So in the new process, then there is going to be no primary, and the primary is eliminated, and then there'll be only a general election. And now the mayor's position will still remain kind of the same. So in other words, it's a head-to-head race in the mayor.
It is. Yeah, so the council was very firm on wanting to keep the mayor as a standalone 2-year term.
Okay.
Some communities, the mayor it's a 4-year term, but it's not, they don't run as the mayor, they just run as the council, and then the city council decides who is going to be the mayor for a 2-year term. The council really felt that it was important to keep the mayor as a standalone 2-year, so every 2 years the mayor and 3 councilors will be on the ballot in November.
Okay. And then, tell you what, no, I guess, all right. So then in the mayor's race, then if you have the top person is elected to the mayor, and then in this new proposed position, then all of the candidates would run, all of the councilor candidates would run for all of the open councilor positions. And the top 3 vote getters, so on the ballot, let's say there's 3 councilor positions that are open, and the mayor position. Okay, then they would say vote for 1 of the mayor positions and vote for 3 of the councilor positions.
Correct.
And then the top 3 vote getters of those councilor positions are the ones that would be seated in those places.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. So, and our PowerPoint thing looks really good here on the tablet, but it's not translating out. But so, no, I like that idea. I think that you're right. It will foster more people that will be interested in being a part of the process. Because the last election was contentious at times, and that was that 2 years ago?
It was.
Yeah. And then when you look at this year, then the mayor's seat was open, the mayor is up, and 3 councilor positions, and all 4 of them are running unopposed. Is that correct?
It is, and that brings up a good point, because under our current system, if you're running unopposed,
Yeah.
you just show up.
Right.
You don't have to campaign. You don't have to really do much to share with the voters anything about
What you think.
yourself and
Right.
why you should be elected.
Right.
And the other thing that has happened at times is you'll have one or two positions that are contested races, but the others are running unopposed. And so those that actually have an opponent are actively, getting their message out about, why they should be elected to council, and the other ones, some of them do, but there's really no reason for them to have to do that.
Right. Well, and I was, I was a candidate in the commissioner race and didn't go on, but I was like, there were 9 people in that race for 1 seat, and then the city council 4 seats, they were all unopposed. So
Yeah.
strange.
But even under this new the new charter, we have the 3 people running unopposed.
Right.
If they're running unopposed, all 3 of them are going to get those 3 spots. So you still wouldn't have to campaign.
Right. But if there's only 3
Yeah,
candidates.
right. Which there is right now, right? There's only 3 people. So if nobody else signs up to want to be on the city council, it just falls right back to
Correct. But I think that part of what the council is thinking is wondering is, and I know this because there are some of the councilors that were elected that were like, man, I'm not sure I want to go through that again,
Right.
And so then that experience was pretty negative. So
my question for you, Robert, would be, is this voted on by the people?
It is.
So it was on a,
it will be.
It will be on the ballot in November.
but it's going to change before then?
No.
Oh, okay. So
No.
this is giving.
Yeah, no,
oh, okay. So give me
yeah.
a time frame.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. So
Yeah.
this election in the fall for the city council and the mayor is exactly like it's been for
Okay.
years.
Gotcha.
If the voter, and then also on the ballot will be the question of whether or not to amend the charter. And on the city's website, we have the current charter with all of the markup that shows the specific changes that would take effect if the voters say yes. And then if they do say yes, then the following election that we have, that's where we would shift away from the primary. The primary would go away. The other thing that would change is if there's a vacancy in the council right now, and I can't remember if you had a chart for that one, but if there's a vacancy right now in the council, say somebody resigns, if there is more than 2 years left, then that position has to be filled through an election. So you could have a situation where you might have to do a special election to add someone to the council. We've had a few resignations. Most of them seem to be within 2 years. And then the council just appoints someone to fill out that balance of that, and then people run for the full 4-year term the next time.
So in the current state, you have to have a special election. If it's more than 2.
You don't have to. It depends on the timing.
Right, but if there's more than 2 years in the balance of the term, then
it has to be filled by election, and you just have to see what the timing of it is.
Okay, and so, but one of the other amendments is that could be that position, regardless of the time left, that position could just be appointed by the.
Yeah, the council would just appoint, and part of that I think ties back to what we saw happen, unfortunately, in Baker City, where there was some confusion about filling vacancies.
Okay.
And so it cleans up that language a little bit. And so, the one that we had most recently, we had a counselor who decided to leave to pursue other endeavors, and he resigned in the summertime, but it was right before the cutoff that we would need to get his position on the ballot in November, because he did have more than 2 years left. So in that case, it worked out okay, and we had 3 counselors' positions, plus his position, plus the mayor on the ballot that year.
Oh, interesting. I put a link in the comments of where you can go to on the city's website where it says the result of a yes vote is this, the result of a no vote is this.
Awesome. That's
For,
great.
for the charter.
So and Gabe, did that slide update? Put that up one more time so people can kind of get. No, it didn't. Let me go back there. Okay, so this is. So then, for those people, this again just a visual understanding of then the pool of people that are running for those 3 open seats. The top 3 vote getters would be placed in those particular seats, and the position numbers would essentially go away also.
They would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and just a little bit, come back to us again now, Gabe, and just a little bit of clarification. So the counselor, right now, the counselor position terms alternate once every 2 years. Is that correct? So the mayor is a 2-year term, so it's voted on every year.
Every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Every 2 years, but half of the council members are voted on every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have three of the current positions are voted on this November, and those will be 4-year terms.
Okay.
And that way you have that overlapping piece.
Yeah.
It's like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics. It really is. I mean, you get Summer Olympics, and then 2 years later you get the Winter Olympics, and then 2 years later
Yeah.
you get Summer.
Well, and I've been involved in a number of boards, and I walked a board through that change process just because it gives more stability to the situation, because you've always got overlapping terms. So,
Yeah.
well, let's take a couple of minutes and just talk about city council members for a second, and and what they do, because there are times that, I've been in. I'm thinking back. You probably were only the city manager maybe 2 or 3 years before I started recording the sessions, and so we've been in a lot of meetings together. And you once called me the most informed, unelected, unpaid, member of the city council. Yeah. Just because, and there are lots of times that I will see citizens with an axe to grind, and don't get me wrong, the place I myself have gotten out behind the counter and gone to the public comments from time to time, and that's the place to do it. But I've also seen citizens that kind of feel like, the city council is in the bag. They're getting something out of the process. It's corrupt in some manner. And not to say that things can't be corrupt, but when you know each one of those different people, and they all come from different backgrounds, they don't hang around together, and they get paid a stipend. What is it? It's like $75 a month, or
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I think the mayor gets 90, they get 70, something like that.
Yeah, and so there's not enough money to sometimes take the criticism that they get. I don't know. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so the role of the council is to essentially set policy for the city and establish the ordinances and make decisions on the future of the city. And the primary tool that they use to really make that happen is the annual budget. And in Oregon, the budget process starts with the budget officer, myself, in concert with the department directors. We propose a budget. And then there's a group of citizens, which includes the 7 members of the city council and 7 citizens appointed, that then review that document and can make changes. They approve that then goes to the city council for final adoption. And then that gives us the resources to carry out the policies that have been put in place by the council. If something comes up where we say we think we need to change a policy that's already established in ordinance, that's done in the public. The request to do that could come from a member of the community, that could come from the staff, it could come from the council themselves. saying, hey, we think we need to change the law regarding whatever. And there's a process to go through where you do 2 readings of the ordinance on 2 separate meetings. And then once the council votes, if they vote to approve that ordinance, there's a 30-day period where if people object, they can file a petition to have that overturned. So the whole policy-making process is very open, very transparent. We have the entire council packet available on the city's website. There's a hard copy of it up in the city manager's out of office if people want to know what's on the agenda, what's the information that the council has. Because the reality is, excuse me, the reality is, even you who come to all of the meetings, the amount of information that you have available to you to understand the decisions, it's not what you would need to make a good decision. So in the council's packet, we prepare a lot of background information. If it's a more complex issue, we'll have a work session to walk through the details with the council on what we're asking them to change. You know, we've seen that with the land use code when we change our comprehensive plan and go in and say, you know, we think we need more industrial land, or we need to rezone something from low density to high density residential. Those are all actions that are gone through with a lot of care by the city council, and they have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions, and they do, particularly in the work sessions, and then they make the best decision based on the information that they have at the time. And then once that ordinance is adopted, it's our job as the staff to implement what's there.
Right. And I've seen more than once when the council maybe wanted to do more, or they wanted to do something, but they have a box that they function in.
They do.
Yeah, and those ordinances, the city charter, all of those things, I mean, they don't have unlimited power. And that is often, you know, people will come with frustration or whatever the case might be. My water bill is too high, or my whatever it might be, and those, I mean, the city council doesn't have the power to just say, all right, we like your case, you know. Yeah, and
I have a comment, well, kind of a question, and then a question from a viewer too. So when you talk about the role, the function of city council, one of the things that you did, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things you didn't mention is they're an extension of the community. It's not them making the decision. They're trying to represent the people that voted for them want, right? I mean, that's how it works.
It is.
And then the question from Bud is, why a city manager and a mayor? Why not a combined job?
Some places do that. So if we have a mayor, but the mayor's role is not as the chief executive officer of the city.
Right.
So the reason why you have the council manager form of government, which is the predominant form of government in Oregon, is so that you have a professional in the field that is doing those functions and overseeing those city departments.
Because a mayor might not be a professional, like
right.
Trained or schooled in whatever's needed to be.
Yeah, you know, when I was first hired, the mayor was a econ professor up at EOU.
Yeah.
Dan Picorni.
My neighbor. Yeah, grew up right next door.
Yeah. Dan was an operator out at the particle board plant.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Clements, who was the mayor for several years, another professor up at EOU, and Justin Rock, our current mayor, has rocking.
He's a tire slinger.
and so in a lot of cases, your mayor also has a full-time job outside of city government. And so I think another value in that, we talked earlier about the fact that every 2 years the mayor is up for election. Envision a situation where every 2 years there's suddenly someone else at the helm that's implementing the policies set by the council. Mm-hmm. The continuity really is important.
That would be a mess, I think.
And if you just look at some of the other communities in Oregon, in our region, where their city manager has turned over quite a bit, and and how the cities have struggled in that scenario. So I think there's a lot of value in the council manager form of government because of that. The city manager serves at the pleasure of the council. And the other thing that I think it provides is it creates a buffer between the department directors and what can sometimes be a highly charged political situation, where there will be times when a public official will want to respond to the public and do something, and if they don't understand the legal parameters that they're operating under, could direct someone to do something that they really don't have the authority to do.
Gotcha.
That could turn around and be very detrimental to the city.
So in our form of government, in the councilor or the mayor, city manager form of government, the city council is your boss, and then you're the boss of the department heads.
Correct.
Correct. So well, I don't want to say boss because that sounds weird.
I serve at the pleasure of the city
There you
council.
go. There's a good way to say it.
And my responsibility is to implement the policies set by the council within the authorities in the charter, and to enforce the ordinances that they adopt.
Yeah. So the flow chart goes: the city council serves at the pleasure of the people,
Yes?
and then the city manager serves at the pleasure of the city council, and then the department heads serve at the pleasure of the city manager.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. So
I
just
do-
so
I-
people can kind of get a view of
Right,
how,
well, and I
if
would
they
say
don't know
that-
how.
You know, I mean, I think the kind of that he's saying is that all of those department heads are, you know, they're approved and they're serving at the pleasure of the council also. But the day-to-day life, the day-to-day management of those department heads, that's kind of what you do, right?
Well, they actually don't serve at the
They
pleasure
don't.
of the
Yeah,
council.
Okay.
I didn't think so.
There's a clear, bright line of authority in the charter.
Okay,
The city council doesn't hire and fire department directors. I do.
okay,
So they set the policy that we implement, and
Right.
they hold me. The council holds me accountable
okay,
for making sure that I'm doing it correctly,
Okay.
and then I in turn hold the department directors
Okay.
accountable.
But much of what you do on a day-to-day level is manage the department heads. I mean, or just making sure that things are running. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a full-time job.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure. What's the hardest part about your job?
It kind of depends on the day, and we have well over 100 employees.
Yeah.
We provide a lot of services, and trying to make sure that we're able to, on a day in, day out basis, do the best we can for the citizens within the limited resources. That's what we're working on. Being responsive to citizens. I get a variety of visits and phone calls. Sometimes it's kind of like, yeah, this is really tough. We had someone this week that called because they had set up their bill pay for their water bill at $90 a month 7 years ago, and they had a credit balance of $300, and they were like, how can we solve this? I want you to write me a check for that, and I don't want to change my bill pay. I want to keep it at $90. And so we had a conversation about, well, you can set it up with our water department to, it will come back out of your bank the same way, but it will always be the correct amount, because he had times where he'd get a notice saying that he was overdue on his bill because it hadn't caught up. That's a simple conversation to have with someone. We'll have people that will come in that are concerned about the safety of their neighborhood or the condition of their streets. I think the streets are our biggest.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I think the counselors would all tell you that their number one comment that they hear is related to the city streets, and trying to figure out how we can do that. And we're spending a lot of the relief dollars that we got post-COVID on that. I think about $3 million is going to go into the streets, and we've got a lot of projects going.
Wow.
So just kind of depends on the day.
What about the most rewarding part of your job?
I think for me personally, the most rewarding part of my job has been watching staff members grow and develop and move into positions of authority. We have a number of employees, our fire chief, our police chief, our finance director. Those are all folks that started line level positions with the city of LeGrand and have moved up into those positions of authority. So watching really great people, kind of achieve their potential.
Yeah.
That's very rewarding. Making a difference in the community where we can. When COVID hit, there were a lot of federal programs to provide resources to businesses, but it was a very long and drawn out process, and the dollars weren't immediate. We got together with the council and said, we can bring some dollars to bear to get some, $10,000 into the hands and more into the hands of businesses so that they can make it through COVID. And we created a loan program, and we put that together, and I think we're probably this year, the last of those loans will be paid off. And we only had one that defaulted, and in that particular case, the business owner passed away. So that was something that we were able to do ahead of all those federal dollars to help local businesses make it through a really tough time. That was super rewarding.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
yeah.
And you also never know on any given day what you might do that is going to make a huge difference in someone's life.
Yeah. Well, and the hard thing is that, and this is the hard thing about any kind of public services, but they're still the roads. You know what I mean? Yeah. So regardless, and people don't understand that the roads are a huge problem, and they're a problem in everything. I think I asked Kyle Carpenter, who is the Public Works Director, I think he asked, okay, so what's the percentage that $3 million is going to cover in what needs to be done? And it was like 20%, or it was just a very small. That might not even be that much. But the road need is it's expensive and so enormous that even $3 million is just a little bit of water into a gigantic hole, and that's hard.
And it's a nationwide issue.
Well, and part of it is that people do not understand is the roads weren't properly, as LeGrand kind of sprawled and kind of went here and there, the roads weren't properly built. They didn't have the proper foundation. And so then over the years, as those roads have just been covered up, that some of that investment, and this is the argument that I know that he has made, and maybe you can express that more succinctly, that what's that shift that's happened.
Well, one of the things that happened a bunch of years ago is for dust abatement, we had received some air quality dollars to go in and put an oil mat surface over roads. So it kind of looks like asphalt, but it really isn't.
I remember when they used to do that.
Yeah, and the life expectancy of that is not a lot of years, but people will look at that and think, oh, this is a normal paved road, and then it starts deteriorating when it really isn't. And so to do a road properly, you actually have to go in, dig out the whole section, put base rock in. Ideally, you've got good drainage, curb gutter, and sidewalk, and all of that is extraordinarily expensive. And so when you kind of do a Band-Aid like this oil mat, there's the expectation that is going to continue to be the surface. And I think we've done a really good job of pursuing grants to help with making some of those improvements. Our street user fee goes towards making those types of improvements. But we have a lot of traffic that's going over there. As everyone knows, snow in winter is not easy on asphalt, and the gas tax revenues in relation to the cost of maintaining roads are going down. So the resources that we need to maintain the streets at the level as I think everybody would like to see just aren't there, and so we're doing the best that we can.
Well, and at the end of the day, you mentioned the budget process. At the end of the day, you don't have a choice of spending more than what comes in, and so that you're balancing the budget. And if you spend money in one place, if you add a police officer or if you add a position or whatever the case might be, that money has to come from somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, and so sometimes those are the things. You can't spend all the money on the roads, or you're not going to have money for the fire department and the police and all of those other critical services.
And I think the important piece to that, and it kind of ties back to getting people to be engaged and run for city council. Those policy decisions on whether or not we want to spend money on parks, rec, library, public safety, streets, that guidance comes from the city council.
Right.
And we build the budget based on what they tell us to do at our annual retreat every January. Mm-hmm. And so having the best people at the table that are really care about the community and want to do the right thing, that can look at that and make those tough decisions on here's how we want to do that, because we want to have a full service city. We want to have all of the amenities, and the balancing act of, how much do you put in library versus public safety, because the price tag is large on all of the items.
Right.
Which is why it's good to have a city council that's diverse too.
It is.
Like you want somebody that's advocating for library. You want a different person that's advocating for police. You know what I mean? Like it provides that balance.
Well, yeah, and I've seen that over the years. You have parents of swimming kids, and so then the pool, that's going to be important to them. And you've got, outdoorsy people, and they want the trails, and they want the parks, and they want the, and so, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've had, over the years, we have had a lot of differing opinions on the council. And the council historically has been good about having those good conversations, and they're not always 7-0 votes. There'll be split votes. There will be a lot of conversation, particularly on some of the more difficult ones. But at the end of the day, after the vote, the council moves on to the next item and works really well together, because I think they all understand the importance of sharing their perspectives and advocating for what they think is in the best interest of the community. They may not always agree on what that is, but to do it in a professional, collegial manner and then move on and tackle the next issue.
Well, and that's what I see and I respect, is I see them struggle. I see them, in this last city council meeting, some property was annexed into the city, and some of those people were not happy. Because, it's property that you would think, what, that's not already in the city, But at the same hand, they're struggling with the roads. It's like, well, wait a minute. So I'm going to, their argument was, that, okay, so my water bill is going to come down since I'm coming into the city, but my roads are still not going to get paved, and my taxes are going to be higher because I'm in the city, because the So from that citizen standpoint, I totally understand why they wouldn't necessarily be excited about that. But from an administrative standpoint, the city is trying to manage the property. Those people are, they have the benefits of the city. They have the benefits of living in the city, and all of that infrastructure cost money. And I saw those city council members, every one of them, they listened and they struggled with making that decision. So it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For $70 a month.
For $70 a month, yeah. And then there are times that people say, "Oh, yeah, you're in the bag. You're getting something." Yeah. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Robert, thank you. Appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate the city council members. I know each one of the. I guess before we quit, real quick, do you want to just throw out, mention your department heads and the people that kind of make the gears happen.
So
behind.
what if I forget one? I'll get in trouble.
You're going to get fired.
Right? Yeah. So our police chief is Gary Bell, and he, again, LeGrand kid that worked his way through the department. Emmett Cornford is our fire chief. Mike Bolquist is our city planner. Timothy Bishop is our economic development director. Heather Reikovich is our finance director. We're looking for a building official, so we don't have one of those right now. Kyle Carpenter is our public works director. Stu Spence is our parks and rec director.
And mascot. Stu's the mascot.
Yes, he is. Kerry Bushman is our library director. I think that's all of them. Did I miss anybody?
Is HR under you? That's
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not a department
not a
director.
yeah,
per se,
okay.
But we actually just hired Becky Tibbetts, so
Okay.
she's doing a great job. So just got her on board here within the last couple of weeks.
good. Well, thank you. And I know that those are the people that really, and they make a difference. I could call out several of them. Gary Bell is on our show on a regular basis, and really appreciate because each of those people are in a position of giving more than what they get paid for, because they're passionate about LeGrand in some manner, and so there's a lot of appreciation there.
So we've got a great team, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. They really do care about the community, and they're working very hard to do the right thing every day.
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of those phone calls where it's like, hey, Robert, just wanted to let you know what a wonderful job Department X is doing. That does happen, but in like at the city council meetings, when the public shows up, it's usually not to say, hey, great job on paving our road or whatever.
Right.
And that kind of wears on folks when the feedback that they continually get is on the small percentage of time when somebody's not happy with what's going on. So,
Well, and the thing that I know, again, from boards is that every one of those department heads, if they're worthy of the job that they're dreaming for what is a possibility in their area. They're dreaming about, if we could just had more money, we could do this with this park, or if we could do this with this. So each of those people, they have a vision for how they can improve the thing that they're responsible for. And a lot of those times, those things come down to dollars.
Right.
So then during that budget process, it's like, this is something that's really important for the direction of this area, but we need more dollars. And and a lot of them are like, yeah, we need dollars. This is, the fire engine, thing is a perfect example. It's like, okay, so then the fire department goes like, I'm going to go get a grant for $200,000. As an example, and it's like, and so now the city only has to throw in 50 or 100,000 or whatever the case might be, and so, those people have dreams for each of those areas. Yeah.
In public service, though, you have to condition yourself to a quiet community means you're doing a good job. You know what I mean? Like you say, they don't get a lot of compliments, but if they're not getting a lot of negative stuff, that means they're. I hate to say it like that, but it is.
no news is good news. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And you have to condition yourself for that, because us as humans, we like praise, right? Like I like to be praised, you like to be praised. But if you're working in public service, you have to kind of condition yourself to be like, okay, I didn't get anybody calling and bitching today. That's my win for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I equate it to like running sound systems, because I've done that enough in my life. Yeah, if people are not turning around and looking at you,
yeah, you're doing a great job, right? Yeah, yep. And I hate to say that because they deserve more, but that's just reality, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks.
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for being here. All right.
Let's
Why
do
don't
this.
you get us out of here?
August 22nd, on this day, King of Britain, George III, proclaims that the American colonies are in open rebellion and orders his officials to suppress it. That's 1775. 1865, on this day, William Shepard is issued the first U.S. patent for liquid soap. 1902 on this day, U.S. President Teddy Roosevelt becomes the first chief executive to ride in a car. 1902.
Wow.
1994 on this day, DNA testing finally links O.J. Simpson to the murder of Nicole Simpson and Ronald Goldman. 2018 on this day, this is just because there wasn't a lot more happening. George Clooney made more money in a single year than any other actor in history. He made $239 million in 2018.
Wow.
And the second closest was The Rock, and he made $124 million. So almost double the second closest guy. The number one movie in America on this day is Forrest Gump, 1994. And then the quote comes from Forrest Gump. And you probably think it was the chocolates one, but I like this one better. My mama always said you got to put the past behind you before you can move on. Forrest Gump, one more time. Mama always said you've got to put the past behind you before you can move on.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Hey,
Next
thank
Tuesday.
you. Appreciate you being here
Appreciate
with.
it. Yep.
See you soon.